In this tutorial, I want to show you how to set up some very basic UVs for a model. What I've done is I've set up a multi-sub-object material which will allow me to assign more than one material to an object. I have a brick, which is tiling brick texture. I also have a kind of a tiling cement. And then I have a third texture should I want to have it later. Now our plan is to tile our arch model to kind of match the design inside the reference. So I need to have my model selected, which it shows cylinder 01. I'm going to right click and say assign material to selection. So there we go. Everything is green right now because I don't have any UVs. So I'm going to go ahead and assign a UVW map. I'm going to set it to box. And I just want to give it all the same size going all the way around. So if I just copy this value. There we go. It now has UVs, basic UVs. But of course, each one of these squares, each one of these square surfaces represents the left, the right, the top and the bottom of our texture. And since this is a large scale object, we're going to need to tile it more. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter 4 for all 3 of these values. So now I have a basic set of UVs. Now, ideally, the brick would wrap around the side. So I think we just need to change our alignment here on the UVW map. And there you go. You can see the brick kind of continues around sort of along that same plane. So we're going to come in here and we're going to say collapse 2. And then we're going to say convert to edit poly. Now from here I'm going to go ahead and put an Unwrap UVW on the model. Before I do that, because I do have a multi-sub-object material, there we go, I might go through and based on the reference here, I might assign some different IDs. So let's go ahead. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unfreeze my reference and just slide it over where we can see it. There it is. So some of these areas, I'm just going to put a basic cement on it. So I'll select the main body here. I'm going to do edit, select invert, and all of those surfaces I'm going to assign ID 2, which is just my generic kind of concrete cement. And then the rest of it I'm going to go through and UV Unwrap. So there's a couple ways I could do this. I could go into Unwrap UVW here, open the UV editor, and then I could come down here at the bottom and I could select the brick. So in this case I will be going through and starting to just UV Unwrap the brick. Now you could come through and do things like if I select this edge here, I can use the stitch tool. I have them selected. Looks like they're all upside down. I'm going to go ahead and rotate all of them. Because I am in here on just brick and materials, I'm going to need to hit break. So looking at it, I can see if I select right here, those are the base polys. I'm just going to take all this and use my rotates. There we go. So these guys are all based on the bottom right there, which is perfect. So I want to take these. Now this, we kind of want the edge of where the texture is to kind of end right up here on the block. So here we have that basic block here. Now, one of the things that happens when you use just box mapping, it projects down and that creates the base UVs. And so these polys, you can see they don't really line up, right? But the detail isn't unwrapping because this polygon ends up getting projected more from the top. So I'm going to take my edges here and I'm just going to come in, select this one edge. I just want to stitch them together. I'm going to go through and select these top polys. I'm going to use the stitch tool to bring over all those surrounding edges. And I think what I'm going to do is go into Element, Polygon, just grab everything here. I'm just going to slide them up just a little bit so this row kind of sits there at the base right there. Perfect. Okay. Now I can come back to polygons here at the bottom. And I can select that edge, and I can stitch that together. There we go. I can grab these guys, stitch them together. And what that's doing is it's adjusting their general shape here. A little bit of we're going to do a little bit of an issue where I have a lot of overlapping polygons. Let's go into polygon and say select overlapping polygons and just hit break. I'm going to do select inverted polygons, which is none. That's good. And now I'm going to start coming in here, and let's select this edge. There we go. I'm going to start stitching them all together here. They're kind of wrapping around. And this will get it so that none of them are overlapping. Okay, so that makes that guy unique. I can select these, switch it over to slide this over to the side here, and I could keep going around with them. This would be for the other side, kind of coming through, selecting, oops, and stitching them together. Now in this case it's working out pretty good because what I have here are flat, straight edges. If they weren't straight, I might run into some issues with them getting not staying aligned, right? If they tapered in a little bit, they'd have a slight angle, and this would be a little bit trickier to do this maneuver with. So what I'm doing now is I'm using the stitch tool. I'm selecting the upper edge. Right, so I'm selecting this edge here. I'm hitting the stitch button, and that's moving the polygon that's above it over. And it is stitching them together. Because I want to take all these. There we go. I want to take all these guys that are sitting here kind of in a row. There we go. Now I'm going to go into element, and I'm going to select both of these and just say slide him over a little bit and slide this one over a little bit. I'm going to grab them both. I'm just going to say tools, relax. I'm going to set it to polygon and a really low amount. I'm going to hit apply. I even hit set to a high one and just run it. Okay. And now I want the edge to kind of end halfway, and it really did it really nice. Okay, so now that kind of looks like that's one solid polygon. And so now I could keep doing this for the rest of them, kind of going through and grabbing these pieces. Right? And so I could take this element and let's see here. I could start taking these guys, selected an edge, and stitching them together. Right? It's just going through, selecting them, and hitting the stitch button. I toggled off select by element because I didn't want to be selecting by element at the moment. There we go. And so we're just going to keep going through, kind of stitching the pieces together. There we go. One more, and stitch. Perfect. There we go. So that one side is good. I'm going to do the same over on the opposite side. Just come through here, select those edges, and begin to stitch them together. All right. And we're just kind of defining, kind of making it. What this is going to do for us is it's going to make it so that all of our polygons are lined up very nicely on our geometry. Working our way around. I think that's the end of that edge. So now we can, just like we did before, select the top polygons, kind of stitch those together. and then we'll be able to adjust the size and scale of these so that they line up with our tiling brick. That way it's going to look like one continuous brick. Now, not all UV unwrapping is going to be like this. In this case, it's working out for us because it's giving us a nice aesthetic to go with our arch. But when we get up to other parts, we're not even going to have to spend that much time on it. It's really, we're spending a bit here. And so let's just take this. Yeah, I'm going to move it down so it's about where that halfway point is. And then I might take, like, grab the side here, kind of move him over a little bit. There we go. Get them lined up on top of each other. I'm using select by element to grab all those continuous ones as they're selected. Now I can go into freeform. If I hold control and drag this down, that'll scale it uniformly. There we go. Okay. You see how I'm building them up so they look like they're made out of continuous brick pieces? Now I don't need to be that detailed with all of it continuously. Like even here, I'll probably just take these pieces and use my freeform. Like I could bring them over to the side, kind of line them up about halfway, and then if I turn my freeform tool on, I can drag them up. There we go. So because I had to scale them up a little bit, now it actually looks like they're a slightly smaller brick underneath these larger capstones above them. Right, and so continuing that same idea here with the pieces that make up sort of the sides here, I could take those and move them so that they're kind of sitting on top of some of these bricks here. I'm actually going to set them about halfway because the bricks kind of wrap around like that, if you notice. So let's grab everything else here, all the ones underneath it. I'm going to turn on absolute. I'm just going to type in -1, and that's going to offset all those by a -1. I'll turn that off again. Alright, so here's this detail. Bring this down a little bit here. And so I might want to go in again, similar to how I was before, because since I can see that top edge, it might give me a better result if I go through and sort of work out how this is going to go together by selecting those edges. Oops. I got my select by there. Turn off my select by element. That's what I was right into there. Now select my edge, stitch it. Kind of working my way through this model. Oops. So we're stitching these pieces together. Alright. We're here. Stitch that piece together. Come work on the side. Select this edge and stitch him together. Stitch them together above. Stitch this edge together. And see how it's all kind of coming together here. It's a continuous process, just kind of working my way through it. Slowly and surely, just kind of going through and setting all that up. You can see these areas really coming together here. Let's select this guy, and I'm just going to slide him over to the side a little bit so you can see what all we have selected. So where is this? It's not letting me select it. I got these guys who in polygon mode are right here, and then I have this, which is, let's try this up. Select inverted polygons. Select overlap polygons. Alright, so all this seems to be okay. Interesting. A little bit of slightly weird result here. Slightly odd. What I might do is just say convert to edit poly to make that totally collapsed together. put another unwrap on, open the UV editor, and let's see if I go to edge. All right, there we go. Now he's back. So I can stitch him together. Oops. Oh, I want to do that. Edit, undo stitch. There we go. I can select the edge here. There we go. And now I can stitch. That's what I was expecting. Much better result. If we grab all this, there's the entire capsule there. Perfect. Okay. Why don't I grab all of these, grow that up a little bit. Okay. All right, let's work our way over. Oh yeah, we want to be working solely with the brick here. There we go. So we can keep coming around on this piece, just like we did on the other side. It's going to be exactly the same thing. So we'll go through it. The rest of it is just continuing to be the same process. So if I take these polygons, I just bring this over, and again I'm just going to use my FFD modifier, the freeform deformation, the volume, if you will. And just kind of adjust it so it's about halfway through my texture here, kind of where the edges are. And then I just want to make sure when I look at it that it's kind of sitting, the placement of the blocks sort of makes sense. There we go. I think that's looking pretty good. So that's that basic process. Now over here on the inside, you're probably going to want to come in and work to sort of stitch more of these guys together. What's nice is there's lots of natural breaks that are kind of hiding how all this is laid out. I mean, we could come through as well and just, oops. And we could select all the polygons that make up this inside portion of the tower. All right. If I go into wireframe, I want to make sure I deselect any extra edges or extra polygons that I didn't expect to get. Turn off map seams, makes it a little bit easier to see any extra ones I got. There we go. Alright, so I could take this and easily just come in F3 to toggle shaded in wireframe and F2 to toggle shaded polygons. I could go through and I could projection map, say best angle, and turn that off. And I could take that whole thing and peel it, do tools, relax, my polygons, and save it. And now I could take this piece, and over here I could rotate it 90 degrees, kind of switch that back to uniform, and I could take this piece and just scale it up. Because I want to make it look like the brick is tiling inside of here at about the same frequency it is on the outside. So maybe I'll just tile my texture there. Maybe 2 times. That's too much. 1.5. There we go. Okay. Looks good. Alright, so now we don't have the bad UVs going around the inside. I might here on this guy come over and actually change the material assignments on part of this guy. Like if I select this entire piece, I'm just going to hide here, and then the rest of it I'm going to assign that ID to. So from here, all you would need to do is just keep using the same techniques you were before, selecting the polygons that make up the side and just kind of stitching the sides together, or just selecting them and raising them so that they match. And what I mean by that is going into your Unwrap UVW, opening the UV editor, finding where the specific polygons are at that you're working with. So if I switch to brick, then I find all the polygons that make up this little strip here, which are probably all right here. Let's go into wireframe, Turn off map seams, make sure that's the only thing we have selected, and it is. Alright, and then I can take this whole section and bring it down here. There we go. So he's kind of sitting there about halfway. Just grab this edge. Oops. Raise that up, uniform. Now I have brick that sits right inside there. I don't necessarily need to worry about stitching the sides together because there's columns kind of sitting in the middle, and so it covers that. I would really just need to go through and finish UV unwrapping and stitching together these different decorative pieces right here. And that can give me a very basic set of UVs. Once I develop a tiling trim texture for the sides, we could deal with that, but that's something for a later tutorial. And that's basically the process for UV unwrapping a tiling mesh like this. To just make sure I did not specifically go through and UV unwrap this entire side over here. One thing you could keep in mind is if I convert it at poly, I'm going to hold shift and select all of that and then grow it and just attach it. If I shift, oops, select, hold shift, grow, I can actually take this model and switch this to a front view. There we go. I'm going to detach as a clone. So I can hide the main model. Oops, top level, hide selection. Hey, look, there's the part I UV unwrapped. If I put a symmetry on there and convert that at poly, then I'm just going to put UVW Xform on here and slightly just offset how, oops, just want to do offsets, kind of shift that over a little bit. There we go. Oops, that's not right. There we go, that looks good. And then just say convert to that poly. And now if I unhide all, let's see. I'm going to say hide unselected. Nope. Okay. Now I should be able to just attach this guy. If I go into border, I can select those two borders, hold control and click vertex point, and I should be able to weld them together. So if I got 24 here, weld that down to 12, and now he's all stitched in. And so that's some basic UV mapping right there.